Recording this now at the end of the year 2022, and all the headlines just keep talking about the interest rates are going up again, the interest rate hikes, and people are saying this inflation is going to put us into just a spiral downhill with a recession, the R word nobody wants to talk about. So let's talk about what you do and how can people get prepared. I mean, sometimes bankruptcy is it's part of the path, right?
Right.
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Hello. This is Jennifer Hammond, and I'm so excited. I know this sounds weird. I'm excited because we have such an amazing guest. I'm not quite excited. The topic's going to be a tough one. That's just the way it goes. So we have Shawn Yesner here, and he is a real estate attorney. He's been an attorney for 24 years. He specializes in real estate, but also, I'm going to say, in some of the more difficult aspects of it, in bankruptcy and short sales, and some of the debt stuff that nobody wants to talk about. So Shawn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I'm so happy to have you. And I know we're recording this now at the end of the year 2022, and all the headlines just keep talking about the interest rates are going up again, the interest rate hikes, and people are saying this inflation is going to put us into just a spiral downhill with a recession, the R word nobody wants to talk about. So let's talk about what you do and how can people get prepared. I mean, sometimes bankruptcy is it's part of the path, right?
Right. It's a tool. It's a tool that I use to help people that are in debt. But there are a lot of other tools that I can use. So a lot of times I'll ask, is this debt that someone can afford to repay? Well, if so, then bankruptcy is a bad idea. Maybe they have debt that they can repay. They just need a little help. Well, bankruptcy is a bad idea. Let's do a negotiation with the creditor and try to resolve it. Maybe they came into a little bit of money, they have debt, and so bankruptcy is a really bad idea. But they have an amount of money that we can use. Maybe we can pay off the creditor like in a lump sum and pay them whatever 30, 40, 50 cents on the dollar as a lump sum. But if it truly is a debt that just people say to me all the time, how much debt do I need to have in order to file bankruptcy? More than you can afford to repay. So if it's, you're going to be spinning your wheels and you're never going to see that balance go down, then maybe we have a conversation about bankruptcy. But, I don't think, as we sit here in 2022, I don't think this is going to be nearly as bad as the last one when the real estate market crashed. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near that bad. In fact, I think real estate is probably what's prevented it so far and what's probably going to drag us out of it, because from 2008 to 2014-ish, real estate values crashed. Today, real estate values are kind of holding their own. And I've even had situations where when the foreclosure started, the house was upside down, but now we went through COVID, we went through the lockdowns, we were able to keep some of those foreclosures delayed. Now those houses that were upside down in 2018, 2019, 2020, those houses now have equity and we can sell them and cash out or find a way to private lending or something like that. So I think we're in a recession, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was, 10 years ago.
Well, and I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was before. And I think that now it's a matter of just like anything else, it's so important to actually get the knowledge. So if somebody's interested in, they need to know more. And I hate to say we want to shift over to short sales, the dreaded S word in real estate, as well as, first of all, will you define what a short sale is? Because a lot of people confuse a short sale and a foreclosure or even, quite frankly, all three concepts, a bankruptcy, a foreclosure, and a short sale. They think all three are the same. So will you do a quick little definition of the three, and then let's dive in?
So they're all related, but they're all different. And so one of my pet peeves is when somebody will say to me, well, the house is in pre-foreclosure. Well, it's either there's a foreclosure lawsuit filed and it's in foreclosure, or there's no foreclosure lawsuit filed and it's not in foreclosure. I guess in my mind, pre-foreclosure means the borrower's behind, but there's no lawsuit filed yet. It's like you're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. You're not sort of pregnant. So To me, that's foreclosure. Either the lawsuit's been filed and we got to deal with the bank, or the bank's getting ready to file, but no lawsuit's been filed yet. Well, one of the options is bankruptcy. One of the options to save the house, you can do a Chapter 13, a payment plan bankruptcy, where you repay what's owed, or you can modify the loan. Another one of my pet peeves, there is no such thing as a remodification. It's either a loan modification or it's, if you're remodifying, that means you've modified it once before and you're modifying it again. Again, another one of my language pet peeves. But a short sale really is just the house is not worth what the loan is, what the loan balance is. So an easy example, let's say the loan is $200,000, but the house is only going to sell for $150,000. That's a short sale. Even in a situation where there's a first and a second. So let's say the house is worth $200,000. The first is $150,000 and the second is $75,000. So you got $225,000 in debt total. The house is worth $200,000. In my mind, it is a short sale, even though the only one that you're sending less money to is the second mortgage. So the first mortgage, house is worth $200,000, first mortgage is owed $150,000. They're going to get paid in full. But the whole transaction's a short sale because we've got to pay less to the second mortgage than what they're owed. And again, I haven't seen a short sale. We're recording November of 2022. It's got to be 2 years, a year or two since I've seen the last short sale, because a lot of property values are going up. A lot of property values are holding. Banks tightened up on lending, so they're not giving out as many bad loans anymore. So, the way that they all interrelate is, if you're in bankruptcy, then we've got to do an analysis and figure out, is the house your primary residence? Is it an investment property? Is it a rental? What are you doing with it? And if it's a foreclosure, we just need to make sure that the lawsuit's been filed. We need to make sure that the short sale or regular sale of the house is completed before the foreclosure sale occurs. So if your foreclosure sale is scheduled for January 3rd and you've got a short sale scheduled, we got to make sure that short sale closes and the bank gets paid before January 3rd. Or even if it's, let's say your house has equity, and we don't have to worry about a short sale, but there is a foreclosure sale pending. You still want to pay off that loan. You still want to sell the house and pay off the loan before that foreclosure sale happens. So you just want to make sure. We've got to worry about timing. But other than that, the three are interrelated, but they're all actually different things.
And let me also just make it clear, because of course, if you're listening and you're not in the state of Florida, it's different because we have judicial and non-judicial states. Will you talk just a little bit about what that means?
Yeah. So Florida is what we call a judicial state, meaning the foreclosure has to go through the court. There's motions, there's hearings, there's part of the reason that Florida takes as long as it does to foreclose is because we got to rely on the clerk to enter certain documents. We got to rely on the judge to read and sign certain documents. There are timelines. So after the lawsuit is served, the borrower has 20 days to file a response. So there are some natural timelines just built into the process. A non-judicial foreclosure is where, so one of the other things in Florida, a lot of people misunderstand. They say, well, I don't own my house. The bank has a loan on it. Well, you do own your house, but the bank has a loan on it. Versus in most of the non-judicial states, the bank really does own the house until you pay it off. Once you pay off the loan, the bank gives you title to the house. Right. In Florida, that's reversed. You own the house. The bank just has a mortgage against it. And when you pay off that mortgage, the mortgage gets satisfied. And so a lot of times that's the difference. In non-judicial states, it's all paperwork that's just filled out. There are no lawsuits, there are no motions, it's just the bank says to the court, here's our mortgage, it shows we own the house, we want our house back, borrower's behind in their payments, toss them. And it's a lot quicker of a timeline in a non-judicial state.
Exactly. And that was what I was really hoping you would explain. Thank you so much, because that, again, that gets so confused. And when sometimes somebody starts asking questions and I realize, oh, they're confusing a non-judicial state with a judicial state. And because they were told one thing, well, that was because that was in a specific state. So if you're listening right now and you're interested in finding out more, I highly recommend that you talk to Shawn Yesner. He's with Yesner's Law, and I'll make sure we put all his data information up there. But also, Shawn, one more thing before we get kind of too far off, your practice as well, you deal with debt alternatives. And when you look at your website, you talk about credit harassment, debt lawsuit defense, and debt settlement. Will you talk a little bit about what that means?
Yeah. So debt settlement is what I said at the beginning. I mean, sometimes bankruptcy is not the best option. I have a client that has, $50,000 from, I forget what it's from, lottery winnings or something happened where he got someone, great Aunt Edna died or something like that. And he got 50 grand in. Well, that's a bad bankruptcy, especially in the state of Florida, because there's no way to protect that cash under Florida law. It's not exempt as an asset. So that's a bad alternative. But I don't mind bluffing a creditor every once in a while. So if I can make that borrower's financial position look bad, even though, again, I'm not going to lie, but I don't mind bluffing. And then if that creditor, so my best example, or actually just recently, I had a client that owed, I want to say it was like $37,000 or something like that. And I ended up settling it, I think, for like $6,000.
Nice.
And the way that we did it, the borrower paid $3,500 up front, and the remaining $2,500 is being paid $500 a month over the next 5 months. So
Nice.
6 months total, a $3,000 chunk, and then $500 a month every month after that. And it was because bankruptcy was a bad alternative. So that's debt settlement. Creditor harassment is the FDCPA, the Federal Debt or Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, or Federal Debt Collection Practices Act. That's the law that everybody thinks of that says the borrower can't, or the creditor rather, can't call too early in the morning, can't call too late at night, can't threaten to arrest you, can't, impersonate a police officer, all those kinds of things. The creditor basically can't misrepresent the nature of the debt in trying to collect it. And if they do, that gives the borrower the opportunity to file a lawsuit against the creditor. And so we do those types of lawsuits as well. Florida has a similar law, the FCCPA, the Florida Consumer Collection Practices Act. And so a lot of times we'll file lawsuits under both of those, the Florida and the federal law, to give the borrower a little more oomph to their lawsuit. But yeah, if the creditor is trying to collect the debt too aggressively or improperly, then yeah, there are laws in place both at the Florida and federal level to protect the borrowers.
And I think it's really important to know that, again, so often as you are maybe listening to these headlines that are they sound a bit scary and a little bit overwhelming, and like the whole sky is falling and the whole economy is going to break down and there's no chance of you being able to keep a job, be able to pay off your debt, pay off your home. And so I want to make sure that people always know that there's number one, there's always an answer. So first of all, you need to ask the questions and find out what it is right for you in your state and in your area. And quite frankly, I used to always use your fingers as a fingerprint, as a sample. Every person's situation is so different. You have to actually pick up the phone, and I highly recommend you talk to Shawn. Shawn's actually become a friend, and I admire him so much. Shawn Yesner, with his law firm, is really interested. They'll meet with you with a consultation, and you can talk to him and just ask your questions. Because if you ask your questions, then you can really find out what's going to be the best path for you. And Shawn, I just really appreciate all you do. Will you tell people about your podcast, as well as how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah. No, thank you. I started my podcast in 2015, and I think somewhere in the 340 range, between 340 and 350 episodes released. It's a weekly show. It's called Crushing Debt. And that is, in essence, what it's about, how to get out of debt. And we go into a lot of these different types of topics. We have guests on, we have all that kind of stuff. So the podcast is on any podcast player, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, it'll be there, and it's called Crushing Debt. And the easiest way to get a hold of me is the website, which is yesnerlaw.com. There's even a link to the podcasts on the website, as well as a page to click where they can send us their information by email. I offer a free consultation. I don't mind talking. If you're not in the state of Florida, I may not be able to give you the specific answer. But regardless of where you live in Florida, I can help.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being with me. And as you know, I like to end every one of my episodes saying yay. So I'm going to ask you to say yay with me as we go off air. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Yay!
Yay! Hi, I'm Jack Canfield. You may know me as the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series.